Pairing. Yeah, on the YouTube. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Lunar Rhythm with Christeen Skinner. Hi, Christeen. How are you?
I am very good, and I like the fact that you like the new background. So that's very nice.
I like it, the golden shining, and then it's like a wow. I always have like a think about a map, sky map, and thingy, just like a
This is the solstice picture, so this is very nice. Yeah,
the fit into the season because very soon we will have a winter solstice.
absolutely, absolutely. But this weekend was just so amazing with the full moon and the major lunar standstill. And now, of course, in the next few hours, the moon is going to occult Mars. But
Ooh,
and it's been really it's been quite an amazing weekend. Mercury turning round. I mean, where do we
yeah.
start?
Yeah, where do we start? I have one thing I have noticed, like you say, this month, most major events are happen around the weekend. When I prepare a podcast or something like that, weekend. What's wrong with all this planet? Like they change the direction over the weekend, the new moon, full moon in the weekend or something. You're like, oh my God. Yeah, so how about we start from full moon?
Well, the full moon, of course, really follows on. Do you remember I had that anxiety about the weekend of December 6th, 7th, when Mars was stationing? And
Yes.
I thought there would be some kind of world-shattering event. And of course,
Yeah.
because because of the work I'd been doing, I was hung up on the idea because it linked in with the chart for modern mankind.
Oh,
And
yes, I remember that chart.
I was thinking, oh my God, I hope that it's not some, awful catastrophe. But in fact, what happened was Assad's government fell in
Yes.
Syria.
Oh,
And
yes.
and in the space between it falling and this full moon, those people, once they'd accepted that it had happened, they were out absolutely rejoicing in the streets. And
Yeah.
we saw the full moon, the best of a Sagittarius Gemini full moon, people celebrating and having huge amount of fun because it's a huge change, right, for them in a positive way. But then on the other side of the world, you've got the German government that didn't
Yes.
survive the vote of confidence yesterday, and the Canadian government that's now teetering, and the French are doing whatever the French do, right? And
Yeah.
it just feels like. I mean, it honestly feels as though this full moon was like the last big blast, right, before we move into this new age, which has to happen. I thought maybe we should talk about the fact that before we meet again,
Yes.
the lunar node is going to go into Pisces. But
Hmm.
I'm going ahead of myself, really, because this full moon, I don't know what your experience was. I mean, my numbers for my class yesterday were double what they've ever been. Well, how could that happen? I don't know. But I mean, it was an absolute full moon weekend. There was
Hmm.
a lot of family stuff happening as well. We've discussed a bit of the world events. And now the moon is going to occult Mars. And so I was reading the last time that happened, it actually happened kind of like twice. It was
Hmm.
December of 22 and
Hmm.
the very end of January of 2023. So I was
Mm.
looking back because obviously I'm looking at it from the market's point of view.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter whether or not you looked at the S&P index or the Dow Jones or the Hang Seng. Both of them marked turning points. The first occultation was a low, the second one was a high. The market
Yeah.
moved then. So if you think of this as being like a little eclipse of sorts, because it is,
Hmm.
right? The moon's knocking out Mars, right?
Yeah.
It alters the energy. Right? So I'm wondering it will be interesting to see what happens tomorrow, whether or not we actually do see a reversal of whatever the trend has been. And
Mm.
I'm wondering about it, in my own life. Am I going to change my mind about some of the things that I thought I'd decided this weekend? Um,
Mm.
because I'm already, okay, I'm a Libra, and it's, I'm yes, okay, I'm known for changing my mind, but I'm trying to balance the feedback from the class with what I would like to do. So it will be interesting to see how all of that is. But
Hmm.
then the other big thing is, of course, Neptune, sorry, the lunar node going into Pisces.
Yeah.
And Did we discuss this before? Did we mention this? Because last time
Probably not.
no, well, you see, oh, okay, so the node goes through Pisces every, whatever it is, 18, 19 years. But it doesn't always go through at the same time that Neptune is there, right? And to do that, you've got to go back to the middle of the 19th century. You've got to go back. I think the exact date was the 2nd of January, 1858, give or take, whether or not you want to use a mean or true node. But I mean,
Yes.
roughly speaking. And what's interesting is that there were financial panics in 1857 and 1859. And if you read why those panics happened, it's very, very similar to what we've got today. It's, I mean, the backdrop is very similar. Right? So that's disconcerting because I'm looking, of course, for financial banana skins, because it seems like at the moment, everything just wants to go up. Bitcoin wants to go into the stratosphere, we've got the Santa Claus rally, if that's what it is. We've got everybody in hyper mode, right? But I wonder what happens when Neptune actually when the node gets into Pisces, because remember Saturn's there as well, right?
Yes.
So putting them all together, I wonder whether or not this is going to be an icy financial banana skin and a real thing. And then I was looking, of course, because we've got a solar eclipse coming 29th of March at 9 of Aries, and ahead of it, both Mercury and Venus station at respectively 9 and 10 of Aries, close enough for chance. So I actually think that the end of February, right, could be quite a tricky time, especially when Mars stations, I've forgotten the date, you can look it up. I think it's about February the 24th, something like that.
Yes, 24th, yes.
Yeah. So I'm really wondering whether or not this hype, because that's, yesterday Mr. Trump was there saying that he what was he bringing in? $100 billion from this SoftBank or whatever it was. And I was thinking,
yes.
this is the Neptune illusion, right? And it is a huge, huge illusion. But I wonder whether or not destiny is going to take us in another direction. But then on top of all of that, the other thing is we can't not talk about yesterday's cyclone.
Oh, yes.
That this major the lunar standstill, right?
Yes.
Was it's a horrific effect that's happened. I mean, it's devastating in every possible sense. And that was extreme with this full moon, but I think we will have more extremes next year, right? We've still got the moon going into maximum declination and out of bounds. It's still on its wobble. So, the climate change thing, that could be yet another factor that affects everything next year.
Yeah. And it's not only because the next year we have so many outer planets going to changing sign and they are moving backward, forward. It's not just changing. It's like they're going forward, they're coming back. Neptune, Saturn go to the Aries and come back to Pisces, and Uranus go to Gemini and come back to Taurus. Usually like, wait a minute, what do you want we to do? And it was so interesting because when beginning, we are talking about 2026, the big event in the United States, the UAC in September. And we were talking about whether the world could be very different by that time, right?
Well, I think it's guaranteed to be very different. I was trying to, it's very hard sometimes, isn't it, to not speak astrology because it's such an easy, you say Saturn, Neptune, and you and I both know it. That's a whole encyclopedia of information. We've just said that. But it means absolutely diddly squat to somebody who doesn't speak our language. So I was trying to explain 2025 in normal language, right? So, and I was suggesting that if you think of each of us as being like rivers, right? We're all on our particular journey, but these rivers are all coming down to a delta point. Right? And therefore, as they all come together at this thing here, there's the tidal waves are different. The waves are all different, right? So you've been used to, navigating, right? Each one of us has got a format. We know what works, right?
Yeah.
And most of the time we can steer clear of rocks, give or take a few bumps, but we manage.
Yeah.
But what was going to be requested of us in this coming year is that we've got to negotiate the kind of waves we've never seen before, right? All we know is that they're going to be huge, right? So you get one huge wave, right? And you think, oh God, thank God I haven't, I didn't need to send the lifeboat for this one. And you think, can I have an hour's sleep now? But you can't, because then it throws you back, right? And that's because another wave is coming. Jupiter's going into Cancer or some other.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to compare notes. We're actually going to have to join forces a lot more, I think, because we're going to have to help each other. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one who was deeply affected by the pictures this morning of the devastation on that island. I mean,
Yeah.
the very idea that 300,000 people are
I
without
know.
now, and we
Yeah.
can't even get to them. It's not like I can go in the attic and find a bag of clothes. It's not. There's nothing. It's the helplessness.
Yes.
And that went back to one of the ladies who was talking this morning, who was saying, I don't know if she was Red Cross or Médecins Sans Frontières, whatever it was, but she was saying that the problem with this is that the communication system is down, right? So they don't even know how bad things are, right? And this goes back to my other thing, which I will talk about at some point, is that, we're so reliant now on the mobile phones and all of the rest of it, and one of these things gets knocked out, people are just so vulnerable. And I don't know what, there is no answer to this.
I agree.
It's just terrifying.
Yeah. I think if we look this year, things start to move to Pisces. And we look at the disaster, there's a lot of related to the rainfall, hurricane, storm, tsunami. It's like with that water sign, with the Pisces energy, indicated by Saturn, the challenge by Saturn, and that is the recent one, this cyclone in the France, the Réunion area, that was totally. If we don't look at the picture, we will not understand the impact of that cyclone in that area.
I think, you're right about this. What I remember, there was a guy, there was a wonderful astrologer, Roger Elliott, and Dennis Elwell. They gave a fabulous we should get this out of the AA archive, but they did a wonderful at the end of one of the conferences where they pretended that they were each advising the government, right?
Yeah.
But advising different sides of the government. How do you put this in such a form that it's of use? Because it's wonderful when you can say, oh yeah, that was a full moon, right? Well, so what? I mean, it is so what, unless you can actually make use of the information. So could we have said in advance, actually, that full moon looks quite naughty to us, major lunar standstill, all of that. That could be a serious weather issue somewhere. Could we have alerted people in advance? We need a world watch. Charles Harvey used to talk about this all the time. We need an astro world watch. And that gives me an excuse to tell you about something else, right?
Please.
So if you haven't already been to it, you need to go to astrologynewsservice.org. Right? It's a long thing to type, but you can do it. Astrologynewsservice.org.
Yeah.
And although that's been going for quite a while, in this last year, we've managed to get 42 new articles on. But in this last month, a lady called Sue Keents, the author of that More Pluto's book.
Yes, More Pluto, yeah.
She has done a series of articles about the Nobel Prize winners, right? The astrology of each of them. It's phenomenal what she's turned out in this last month. And there's a good free read for people, but go and have a look, because there's some really good stuff on there now.
Cool. So the website called Astrology News Service.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that would be going to be fun.
And you should write for it as well. Give us information, because it's and it's supposed to be a news service.
Yeah.
and I'm hoping now that once we've got it back up and running, that actually, although at the moment the articles are all a bit top heavy on the astrology, eventually I want us to write for journalists who don't necessarily speak our language.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's another challenge too. That
That's
is
another
another
challenge.
topic.
But you know that is the challenge even with clients, because it's
Yeah.
it's very, very easy to fall into this. Ah, you've got Pluto going past your Saturn, and the client sat there thinking like,
They
well,
say,
I, you know,
what?
like, what? Yeah, what?
They would just say, is that good or bad?
But it's
Is that
learning not to, first of all, learning the language and then learning not to speak it.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. Well, you just remind me another event that we both participate for a while. It's our dear friend Wade Caves.
Mm.
Wade usually run the I think Mountain Astrology Summit,
Yeah.
and yeah. So usually, I think, like you say, it's like a watch, astrology watch. You know, we group together and then help each other to understand what's happening around the world now, and in a different region. I really respect him, can have that energy and the time and the passionate to group everyone in the same room.
I think this next one that he's doing in March, right,
Yeah.
is absolutely, this is a corker, because he's stretched his reach out this time, because when we first started, it tended to be a bit Western Hemisphere.
Yes. Yeah.
But he's covering all quarters now. He's got some fabulous people from South America, and
Yes.
he's got the Australian. I think actually we're almost on a time thing. We're going around the world on this, but I think
Yes.
he's got, and he hasn't even he's got the best. You know, he's managed to get the best people in to speak
Yeah.
about this. So I think this is, and of course, when we do it, we're doing it just as both Saturn and Neptune are on that world axis. So, you know,
Yes.
how wonderful that he's doing it. Fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah. So many astrologer, many leading astrologer and a different country, different culture,
Yeah.
different hemisphere will join this astrology summit. I think it would be on the 25, right? 25, 22nd to 23rd of March 2025. So if you haven't registered yet, please go to register. And when being asked who you hear from, you can either say Christeen or Rod.
Yes, we'll put us both down. That'll be good.
Yeah, put both down. We will get a kickback. I learned this one from them because I never understand what does this mean. But when I visit the United States, they keep mentioning about kickback. I think, what does that mean?
But you know, you do so well, Rod, because you know our language I don't think is easy, right? You know, our accent I don't think is easy, you know, but you do so well with it.
Oh, thank you. I hope just as long as they understand what I'm talking about, I'm okay. Because yes, I think this is very interesting. But this is also the Gemini theme for the full moon, right? We're talking about the language.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Although I looked at the chart for when we were going to be talking today, and I saw the moon is in Cancer now, and I'm thinking, no, should we be talking recipes? And I thought, no, maybe not.
Oh, yeah, well, why not? Why not? But it is true. I think that you just mentioned the weekend, that last weekend, when Mars is stationary. Lots of things happen. You heard about that? I think you definitely know that young man, that Luigi Mangione, shooted
Yes.
an insurance CEO.
And do you know, I was talking to one of my American colleagues the night before last, and of course we don't get the American papers here, but I had no idea how the effect that has had, and how you're saying kickback, but the way the American people, right, their resentment of the insurance companies there.
Yes.
I mean, it's been really quite extraordinary, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And also, I think South Korea, because the
Oh,
president.
yes. Yeah, gosh, how could we miss that? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have South Korea, right? You know, France, Germany, Canada.
Yeah.
It is. But we are really seeing a change in world
Yes.
order, right?
Yes, indeed.
What well, we've always known that that's what this time was about. What worries me, from the United States point of view, is that
Yes.
when Neptune crossed that world axis before, they had their civil war. Right? So,
Mhm.
and I don't know that everybody is thrilled with what is happening now. I mean,
Yeah.
Mr. Trump is painting it out as though everybody in the US voted for him, but
Yeah.
that's actually not quite true, and I think a lot of people are deeply unhappy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then of course I was looking at the chart for the inauguration. That's really interesting if you have a look at that, because that
Yeah.
has Mercury. I'll round up the numbers, but it has Mercury at 19 Capricorn, the Moon at 18 and a bit of Libra, and then Chiron is over the other side, 1920 of Aries. So, and then down at the bottom you've got Mars at 24 of Cancer. So actually you've got a grand cross,
Grand Cross. Yeah.
across the ninth, sixth, whatever. So you've got everything there for trade wars, right? Absolutely. You can see all the tariffs coming.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
thought, okay, well, I got that bit right. So I should really have a look at the inauguration chart for 2029 and see what's coming next. And that's, well, it's good, isn't it? This is the advantage of doing what we do, right?
Exactly.
Assuming that they don't change and anything
Mm.
could happen in the next 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Then that chart has a grand trine in it. It's a very different thing. But coming
Yeah.
back to this one, I
Yes.
understand that he's invited President Xi to attend, right?
Yes.
And apparently no foreign leader has been invited to attend since the end of the 19th century. So he's completely breaking the rules. But that also shows in the fact that at about is it 20 past or 25 past noon in Washington,
Hmm.
Uranus is rising, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever his speech, it is going to shock us, and it'll be more than what I've just said because we're prepared for that now, right? But this sort of speaks also of the crypto thing. I've been looking, by the
Mhm.
way, at the chart for that David Sachs, who's
Uh-huh.
appointed the crypto czar.
Oh, yes.
So I've been looking at all sorts of things there. Um, there's masses for us to do and not enough hours in the day.
I know. Then we always just like, oh, should we look at this chart? Should we look at that chart? And it's like, ouch. Do we
Yes,
really have time? Yeah,
yeah,
if I remember correctly, because you mentioned about the Uranus rising, because this is also echoed at the Capricorn English chart in the Washington area, because they also have Uranus right on the descendant. That when the Capricorn English happened. So, you
and
know,
that's interesting too because the descendant is actually speaking about the political disturbance everywhere else. Not,
yeah,
and Mr. Trump has made a name for himself as being the disruptor, right? He's the one who's going to bring the discontinuity. But now it
yeah,
seems discontinuity is going to come from all these other places as well.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
Wow.
we've got enough to talk about forever, really.
To be honest, yes. And it is one thing is quite pretty interesting. We talk about so many changes going to happen for the coming up year. And especially the big unpredictable Mr. Trump is going to give us a lot of a surprise.
Yes.
What are we going to do? Like in the beginning, you asked me, "How are you?" I said, "I'm fine," and you say, we are in a hot war. So the world is like in big." Yeah, what can we do with that?
Honestly, I mean, it is actually you. I wonder whether or not I'm just in sort of la la land now. Choosing not to engage with what's coming next, but we have to.
Yeah,
These planets are going to change signs, right? So
yeah,
the world is going to be different, but it's going to affect each and every one of us. And I've been
definitely.
thinking a lot. You were kind enough to ask me, what am I doing about my course? Well,
Yeah.
I promised myself that it would definitely be ready by Michael's birthday. Michael would have been 85 on Saturday.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have actually started to sell just a few of them, but I don't want to
Yeah.
push this too fast because
Mm-hmm.
I want Mercury, Mars, and Jupiter to just shovel along a bit, right?
Uh-huh.
Because I can see that by the summer, I don't want to do
Mm.
something badly, right? And it's like
Yes.
it's steering my ship. I don't want to suddenly go too fast because I don't really know what else is coming at me. So I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted, I want to try and just go gently into
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah.
Because I think next year, especially really, you know, when you look back at the last time that Jupiter was moving from Gemini to Cancer, right?
Yeah.
Look back, there were some transport difficulties there, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going to happen in the summer. I'm not suggesting we're going to have another COVID yet, but there could be all sorts of reasons why suddenly Boeing or something says, well, we're not flying, in other words, we're going to have to be flexible. So
Yes.
maybe the best people, the people who will cope best next year, maybe are going to be the mutable signs.
Oh yeah, they're very flexible. We have to learn to be a little bit flexible.
Well, that you see, you and I are airheads. We're good at, I mean, well, we are, we're
Yeah,
good
we
about
are.
talking about, we're talking, we can talk about it, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I actually cope with it. That's a separate thing. And in this last 24 hours, I've been talking to quite a few fixed sign people. Right?
Yeah.
It's interesting hearing what they say back.
Uh-huh.
They say, words to the effect, I'm not very good at change. Yeah, well, we know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're saying, but I think I might have to. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, Pluto got there and you've at least heard the message.
Mm, yeah.
At least.
Good. We will say, good to hear that. And
Yes,
how
good.
do you want to change? How do you want to start it? Well, I think I will leave this message to everyone who watch this video. The world's changing, and how are you going to adopt it? We should ask all ourselves, right? We should all ask ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Christine. Thank you for taking your time out to share your, observation and then your work with us. Well, although you don't want to mention too much, but Christine's monthly course is still going on. The
Yes,
number was double.
the monthly classes are still, they're doing very well. And we had a wonderful time. The next one in January the 19th, is
Yeah,
only crypto. It's a
only crypto.
yes, it's a crypto event. Yeah.
Okay, it's only crypto. So you're into crypto and you want to learn a little bit, please join Christine and also her course. But slowly you're going to discover it because I'm not promote it. And
No,
then also, I'm going to promote the Weight Caves Mountain Astrology Summit, World Astrology Summit from 22nd March to 23rd March. The registration is already open. And also, well, we will soon have our AA conference too, and that would be the end of August. By the time close, I will share information with you. Thanks everyone to join us today. Have a nice week.